of Storehouse Media. Sherry, how are you? And we have a very, very exciting guest that I'm going to be talking marketing back and forth. I can tell. We'll probably want part. There's got to be a second part to this, but we get to know type podcast. But who's our guest today?
Our guest today is Maury Rogo. And in case you don't know who Maury Rogo is, he is impressive. I mean, he's the CEO of Rip Media Group, and he's successful in both business and Hollywood, which I'll let you share the Hollywood part. But, I was really impressed with how you were in uh, business development with several big companies. And then there was a startup that was sold to Cisco Systems for over $1 billion. That's impressive in itself. But you've also been an actor in some shows like Ocean 13 and Entourage. So we'll talk about that. But what we first connected over was your book, Selling in an AI World. And before we came on, I can understand you and Neil going back and forth. That's what you do. So tell us about that book.
Happy to. So it's a culmination of everything that I ran into in my career, and it started with back in the high tech. So 15 years in high tech, 15 years in Hollywood, roughly. Each area. So whether it's Hollywood, whether it's high tech, whether you've got a great product, you're a startup, or you're a behemoth, people have a lot of trouble telling their story and differentiating themselves against their competition or against the status quo. And you know what happens if you can't differentiate, people don't buy, or they don't buy from you. And in Hollywood, that means they're not going to buy tickets. They're not going to put their tushy in the seat and pay the $15, $20 and then go and tell other people about it, which is extremely important. And in business growth, it's imperative that you look different, you are different, and you're telling a unique story as compared to your competitors. And what I started doing is playing a little bit of a game with early clients, which is please pull up your website, and maybe the listeners can do this. Please pull up your website. Now pull up the website of your competitors. Pretend the colors aren't there. Pretend the logo's not there. Look at that story. Are you really any different from them? And now think about the customer or the prospect looking at that. Huh. Well, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to go with the brand I know. Or I'm not sure what to do or make them different or unique. I'll just buy the cheapest price. And most of us don't want the race to the bottom, and most of us don't want to lose to the biggest brand out there because a relationship was established because they have big advertising. Your story is absolutely critical. And what's really interesting now in the world of AI that's exploding, right? Exponential growth, you have to show how you're different so that you can even be recognized by the chat engines because now they're taking over search, right? So it's not just Google and Bing and, you formerly Yahoo and so on. GPT and Perplexity, they're doing the searches and they're giving the summary. Are you going to pop up or not? And are your salespeople going to be able to differentiate yourself with your story over your competitors? So my whole career, without even realizing it, has always been about helping people tell the right story.
And storytelling is what acting is. So I too have almost a similar background. I'm a former professional wrestler, wrestled minor leagues of pro wrestling for X amount of years before getting into teaching and then marketing. So when I look at specifically enough the power of story, I know that when I talk about when I had to go out and wrestle somebody and we weren't on TV, it was a minor league show. And in 2 minutes, I had to be able to get them into the match, hate me, love the other guy in without introducing anything except to the audience in seconds. Well, that in itself is part of the story. And then at the end, have them eating out of my hand from getting them so upset at me in the ring. If I was a good guy, a bad guy, and if I was a good guy, everyone hated the person I was wrestling. So the point was telling that story to get to the crescendo at the end where the audience got excited. So that's storytelling in itself as well. So I know the power of story. And that's a missing component for so many companies because they don't tell their story. And it sounds like to me, Maury, when you're talking about story, the missing component is that people have their business out there, but there's nothing to differentiate that business when they're out there marketing. And when they're differentiating that business, they're not able to tell what their unique selling propositions are through content, through Google search, through anything, so that there's nothing that makes them that wow factor to compare to their competitors.
That's right. There's no aha moment. I love
No.
your background. So there's, you can simplify it down to the hero and the villain, right? So the wrestling world really has done an incredible job of that, right? We can tell within seconds the Malcolm Gladwell, blink moment if you want to run in that intellectual crowd, or just, pro wrestling fan. Is this a heel or is this a hero? Is this a bad guy or a good guy? And why am I going to root for them, even if they're the bad guy? You said you had the meeting out of your hand by the end of the match because of whatever the story you were telling. And what brands aren't getting right, most of them will hear this and say, "Oh, I'm doing that. We're telling a good story." Well, the story you're telling, I'm about to flip this, it's not yours. You're not telling your story. You're not trying to tell how you're the hero. You're not the hero if you want to win more clients. The customer's problem is the problem. The customer is the hero. And I always say this because I compare everything to Hollywood because, I was there for so long and I consulted with the producer of Batman and The Dark Knight, this kind of thing, which is basically you're Batman's utility belt. You're those cool, cool add-ons, the hooks and the explosives and all the great things. That's you. You're the tools. You're the tools to make this hero the hero. You're not the hero. There's very few brands out there that can succeed at being the hero. There are a couple, but the best brands really tell that story and that you're the hero. We're here to support you the whole way through. And so that's the story that people want to tell. By the way, the tagline to the book is the tagline is your story can be your superpower. So it's selling in an AI world. Your story can be your superpower. And here's how to do it is what the book really goes into. And then how to use AI to enhance it and distribute that story.
I love it. I work with authors every day, and that's what I try to say, your uniqueness. What is unique in your story? But especially people who, whatever book, I'm like, be vulnerable, be willing to lay on that carving board and be filleted because people, it's like you said, it's their problem. People have problems. What keeps them up at night and what makes them want to get up in the morning? And so, they like that vulnerability when you're telling your story, and they can't resonate so much with the perfection. And when I talk to people, I say everybody loves Spider-Man. I mean, he's really cool, right? He's got really cool costume. He's got that web that comes out of the wrist, and he flies from building to building from those webs. And it's like, wow, he's so awesome. But Peter Parker's the one they resonate with
Right.
because he's the one with all the flaws. And so that's like people want to see those flaws. They don't want to see somebody or hear or read about somebody who's so perfect that they just can't connect with them. So if you want that bond, let them know you're human too, and they can look at it and say, that was me, or I could have done that. And so I totally agree. Your story matters. I don't, whether you're in corporate, whether you're writing a book, whether you're doing a movie, your story matters, and that's what's going to sell people.
Those
Absolutely.
flaws, the things that make you different, that make you perhaps weird, that you might be embarrassed of. I've, perfect example of me early in my career. One of my earliest sales was, look, I really love magic, right? I mean, what a nerd thing to do, right? So I really love magic. I really love karate, and I'm a black belt. But at the same time, I like this, how do they do that? And so, I'm kind of going through the pitch that I was told and, kind of taught and did a very good job at it. And, thank you so much. And on my way out, I was like, you know what, it was just such a lame meeting. I know that they're not going to call me back. I did a little, make my business card kind of appear out of nowhere. And the guy, well, hold on, wait a second. Do that again. And I did. And he's like, hold on a second. My son's here to pick me up. Hey, Bobby, come on in. And so, the kid just came up from school. He's like 12, whatever. So we end up having, this conversation. He says, hey, do you golf? Yeah, I'm just learning. I'll take you out. Like, of course, I got the project. We won the deal. Now it's people
I
buying from
love
people
it.
because of this weird nerd thing that I did. And I was like, oh, people actually don't like the button down corporate, I'm wearing my glasses and suit and tie as much as the regular guy. And that was really one of the things that just, I said, oh, these little quirks and weird things I have, I'm going to bring them out more. And again, that's partially what the book is about. And there's, the PUV, like the proof of your unique value. The things that make you different and make you stand out are the things that you had to fight against and you failed at. Because the hero, the big hero that can't be, that's invincible, that's totally unrelatable. We don't relate to that. We all go through pains and struggles every day of our life and some big ones. So talk about those vulnerabilities, talk about the
Right.
losses, talk about failing forward. And I feel like you're going to connect to people like I'm talking about it, and you both are shaking your head like I've been
Yeah.
there because
Yeah.
we've all
Yeah.
been there. The
And
underdog.
and then I think it's the thing of the evolution. Okay. When you're looking at specifically niching down to a certain brand or certain things, or give you an example, I'm gonna potentially start working with this AI company. Well, I decided I'm just going to create, and I'm really on this, and I'm going to be an affiliate of them. Okay, I'm going to start just creating a ton of AI content under one area. Is this for my other business? Absolutely not. This is just for me to say, okay, I can get out there myself and do it. Be the poster child. The problem is the whatever doesn't have any sneakers, that type of thing. With our agency and where we're growing and working with so many unbelievable agents, organizations, it's like this is the next phase, and we always got to improve and say, well, what's the most important thing B2B? What's the most important thing B2C? And how do you fit those things together to make it happen? But at the end of the day, it's very simple to tell. Once you get the people to that sales call or to that sales page, how many are you converting? Are they resonating with your storyline? Have you been able to give them a story that they really resonate? And when they come in, they understand and know, like, and trust you. So you can give that unique selling proposition on a call. So there's so many missing components with companies, right? They have maybe the greatest solution in the world, yet they can't get anyone to the call. Or they have everyone's interested, but I mean, no one's interested, but they do have content. So you putting all that together. So you really say, how do we make someone a hero with AI? So that's the point. You brought AI into this part. What type of AI are you covering in this book? Kind of go
So
into that.
great question. So I'd like to start, kind of at the top. Like, let me build the foundation, and then certainly we're going to talk about the tools. But AI at this time is a tool. It's an amazing tool, but it's a tool if you know what your brand voice is, if you know what you're saying. And I'm not talking about some, foo-foo, or what if you were a fruit, what would you be? I mean, you can do those things, but I mean, what do you stand for? What do you care about? What do you hate? I mean, as a business owner, what's the problem that you really solve for these clients and why are you passionate about it? Those are the stories that really matter. Once we get that and more, well, we can go from top of funnel. I don't even know these folks. They don't know me. Somebody's searching on the web. Wait a second. What's this that just popped up? Oh, that's pretty cool. Let me go to the next step. If they like your story that's on that landing page, they like your elevator pitch, which is, major problem in the world. We solve X problem for Y audience, so they get Z result. XYZ. So, oh, this fits me. Now I'm going to go to the next step, nurture, educate me. Why do I want to buy? And then once I buy, make me an advocate. So that's the journey we're going to put them through. The tools to use is the AI. Using that at the beginning, just creating content with AI is cool, but does it matter to the market? Does it matter to the solving the problem? And that's what people are really going off track now because this is a totally shiny, new, amazing thing. But if you don't have your core story set first, the things you care about, the things you're solving, those things you're making that are super cool may not help at all, may not help your marketing. So there's another, it gets scarier, right? So you do want to use AI after you've got your core stories. At this time, 70% of the sales process that used to be done with, right, maybe it was a mailer or email or whatever it was, come in, get the SDR to the rep, to the regional rep, that kind of a thing in a B2B. They're going through the sales process. 70% of that has been wiped out. 7 out of 10 steps in that sales cycle is done online without your sales team. People are coming in qualified or suspicious, right? They're coming in, they know they like you, they want to prove it, or they are not sure, but they got to get 3 names on a list to show their boss to see that they talk to show that they spoke with, this many vendors. So you get 30% of the sales time now, where you used to get 100, out of that whole sales cycle. So you've got to be perfect. You've got to be better than you ever were before in that 30%. That's why these stories matter. That's why the cycle matters. So that's why it's so important now. So what tools am I playing around with? So we're definitely in the content creation space, right? So that means creating scripts, creating voiceovers, creating, voice and audio, literally creating and writing scripts for folks. That's the website, that's the videos, that's the blogs, that's even podcasts, things like that, all the way through, full video. And so the tools that I made one literally out of necessity. And there were two spots that we were too busy to handle. And that was, we've created 1,200 commercials, 1,200 commercials. There's a certain format, there's a template, one of I'd say about 20. It's going to be one of these general templates. So I loaded that into AI so that we could get not final, nothing's I'm taking from AI and publishing anything, but it gave us, probably 80% less time to spend from going from scratch. So we can ideate, we can create ideas. Now, all the voiceover artists, they're all in my AI. So I created the website and I put it out there, script timer. Just put your script in there, time it. It was just a tool for our agency clients. And during COVID, it was incredible. It went from a few hundred people a month to a couple thousand people a month. Like, oh, well, that's good. And then I kind of put it away and I did all the things. And I came back and it was hitting 50,000 people a month going to this site. This is an example.
Wow.
So what did I do? I incorporated, lead magnets. What do you want to do here? You're testing your script. Does it have to be a certain time? Yep, it's got to be a 30-second commercial, a 60-second commercial. It's got to be this kind of explainer video or this speech. Would you like to get a consult? People didn't want a consult. Okay. Next month, I tried, do you want to add a voice with that? Click, 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 click. We want voices. Okay. Well, here are live voices, $500, $1,000 voiceover, a couple of clicks. And then I said, let me spend a month or two investing in AI, put AI in there. Click, 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 click. All of a sudden, it's now thousands of people using it, doing their voice, writing their scripts, doing their voiceovers right on this platform. So there's two. So, Script Timer would be one. Now, other ones that are obviously the upgraded versions of GPT and Perplexity, but some of my favorites this week, Julius AI is phenomenal. You got spreadsheets with unstructured data. This is how many products we sold. This is how many, this was our revenue for the last 2 quarters. You just plug this into Julius and it says, I see a trend here. I think you could focus in this area. If you fix these things, you can get more revenue or more margin. That's great. So Julius, I think, is a favorite, and Manus. I'm really liking Manus AI. So Manus is basically creating those lead magnets, those prototypes, like websites right up to about 95% complete, where I'm like, okay, I want to put a script calculator out there. I want to put image generation, but it's got to look gorgeous, not just the image, but the website does. I want it to look like this. I put a couple of Figma designs, or literally, I actually hand sketched some designs, loaded it in, and it built the site and gave me the code in React. I mean, just mind blowing.
It's
That one came
crazy
in.
what can be done.
Yeah.
And do
Yeah.
you have a place that you do weekly tools and stuff that you find that work?
Yes, yes, absolutely. LinkedIn. I'm really, kind of really active on LinkedIn. I've got about 30,000 folks that follow me there. So I'm constantly putting out different tools, things that we're liking and testing on LinkedIn would be the main platform. I also have classes there, things that I'm teaching. I actually have a whole class from top of funnel to bottom, what AI tools to use at each step of the customer journey, and that's on LinkedIn Learning. So mainly for business clients, things like that.
That's awesome. Good, Sherry.
I'm just blown away. I mean, we talked earlier and you had talked about even having a AI program for screenwriting, right? Because
Sure.
you're in the movie industry,
Yeah.
executive producer and all that. So I'm interested in even looking at that. My daughter is actually, that's what she wants to do, is go into screenwriting. So, I'll have to talk to you more about that later, but tell us a little bit about the screenwriting.
Sure. So what I'm finding, so the screenwriting piece is, look, it's really difficult. I mean, you can tell the generic responses that you're getting out of, AI right now. So there are some tools out there that are really quite good, but it's that, good input, good output. Bad input, bad output.
Totally.
So you've got to ask the right questions, which we're calling prompts. You've got to ask the right things, give it enough information to build. And again, this year at this time, again, I think if we do this podcast in 9 or 12 months, it'll be very different because people are going to be doing different things. But right now, writing based on your experience, your daughter's experience in life, her, again, we could go to a movie like the four of us, your daughters included. We all go see The Dark Knight. I'll walk out saying that was amazing, and Neil's going to say. That was a joke. And Sharon was like, yeah, it was okay. And your daughter's like, oh, the writing was great, but the acting was we're all going to have different takes because we're all different. And so we all have our own groups that are going to agree with us. And that's the thing that AI at this point doesn't have. It's a very general answer. So I think what's going to be happening is these different models, right, are going to be specializing. This one will be specialized for medicine. This one will
Mhm.
be specialized for long form scripts. This will be specialized for short form
Do you
scripts.
think that's going to get too outrageous? I mean, if so many rappers, we're gonna hit a bubble at one point.
I think we're approaching that. This is like the
Yes.
.com craze, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I've got what's your AI, right? You can sit down at a dinner and like, what AI are you building? Oh, I got this. It's too many are out there, but the heavyweights, the hyperscalers, they call, they're going to control the market. I mean, there's, Google, GPT, they're already into, particular areas, like medicine, medical. My wife's a physician, right? So, kind of going down that path. A lot will be included there, but just like everybody isn't on Salesforce, everybody isn't using SAP, right? Some of us, I'm good with QuickBooks. So, I'm good with Podio. I'm good with, whatever it is, or
Right.
HubSpot. So niches, and again, this is also why you're knowing your differentiator, knowing why you started and how you help. It's really full circle. Your story is going to appeal to people, and they're going to buy that story. I,
Totally. And if
I
you don't
think
embrace AI, you're going to die. Bottom line.
if you don't embrace AI, you're going to be left behind. You'll be it's speed and separation. It's happening so fast. Every month there's new releases. We've had nothing like this in the past, and you're going to be separated from the pack. I mean, separated, I would say left behind. They're going to keep moving up because they're
Yeah,
getting
I think, and
control
I
of it.
think that's in anything. And we're just talking marketing. It's going to be so much more. So, Mari, best place people can find info on you and purchase your book. Where can they go?
Thank you. Thank you. Please come to LinkedIn, Mari Rogo. And, my main website is RIP Media Group. RIP Media Group. Contact me there. Leave a message. I'll get back to you. And happy to share the early version of the book. I'm just going to be shipping those out to the first 50 people. Thank you so much for asking about that and having me here.
All right. And go to storehousemediagroup.com. Schedule a call with Sherry today. Appreciate